Sky Squad, we are back in the building and we're going to be talking basketball wives. We're looking at episode 6 of season 11, and the episode is called Turning Up the Heat. Okay. Now, before I get into this review, I need to know what you guys' thoughts are about the Clayanna. Okay. The Clayanna of it all is very interesting to me. I kind of feel like Clayanna is an agent of chaos. And it, I don't think that she is coming across the way that she may think that she's coming across, right? I think that Basketball Wives has long been steeped in this tradition of, you know, people show up to set ready to fight. I mean, that's just been the history. I mean, if you look back at Basketball Wives over the years, I mean, I just remember watching so many episodes with this level of anxiety, like who was going to get it in this episode. And I kind of feel like I don't know what the deal is with Clayanna in general, but it almost feels like she is working to keep Brittany worked up so that she has an ally in her chaos. There's a part of Clayanna who I feel like wants to be known as someone who is keeping it real. And I ended the episode thinking, you might want to work on that. And we're going to talk about why. So, if I had to rate this episode on the scale of 1 to 10, I mean, for some reason, I'm stuck at an 8. I'm stuck at an 8. I mean, I felt like it should have been higher. But I gotta be honest with you guys. Like, I think it was because I was already tired. I was falling asleep by the end, and I was like, I said, this is why. I mean, Mondays are so chaotic. We got Potomac and we got Married to Medicine, and so it's just a lot. You know what I'm saying? It's just a whole lot. And listen. I had went out to dinner, and I was like, you know what? I don't know if I feel like it tonight. But anyway, I did see the entire thing. Don't get me wrong. So we're gonna go through it. I'm just letting y'all know that I don't know, for some reason I wasn't excited about most of the episode, and a lot seemed like it happened. Let me know how you felt. Maybe it's the 9 p.m. time slot that it comes on. I like a show to come on at 8. You know what I'm saying? But when it's the one show and it come on at 9, and I'm feeling like, the day has worn on me. I went to the gym and everything too. So it was just a lot. But ironically, I think I made it through the entire episode of Basketball Wives Orlando. Now I don't know what that's saying, but regardless, let's go. All right, so Jackie FaceTimes Jen to find out if she's gonna go to Arizona because much of this trip will take place in the cash trip to Arizona. Jen is kind of cagey on if she really is going to be coming on the trip or not. My suspicion, though, even at this point, my actual suspicion at first was that she's not going to come because she didn't know whether or not Clayanna was going on the trip. And I mean, based on the way things have been going, it had been allowed that she was able to get away with not filming with Clayanna. But I had a feeling that when she does eventually show up, spoiler alert, that it was probably at producers' request, like, girl, you need to get there if you want to get these coins for these episodes, okay? So anyway, Brittany then meets up with Clayanna and Miss VANESSA to shop for Arizona. Brittany is given, that's another thing. I am having a hard time understanding Brittany because in this scene, later scenes will have a different story. But in this scene right here, in my notes, I wrote Brittany is giving real I'm over this show energy. Like, it's giving real, like, F these B's and I don't really fit in and I ain't trying to fit in. That's what it's given, to be honest with you. And I feel like with her being so busy with trying to either fit in or not fit in, that we're not really getting all the Brittany that we possibly could be getting. You know what I'm saying? But Clayanna, does Clayanna have something to do with that? Time will tell in this episode. All right. Anyway, Vanessa wants to know why Brittany seems so off at the cooking class. And what she doesn't realize just yet, but she will, is that, Clayanna had texted her that the girls was kikiing and ha-haing about whether or not to start because Brittany wasn't there. Ultimately, I mean, it didn't feel like Brittany missed all that much. And I don't really get the sense that people was kikiing and ha-ha over Brittany as much as they probably were Clayanna. But that's just me. And Brittany probably felt that based on her association with Clayanna, who no one really seems to know all that much at this point, outside of probably, Brittany by default because they are new, and Jackie and Evelyn who met her first, right? But we know that Evelyn wasn't at the cooking event. And I feel like had Evelyn been there, then Brittany might not have felt the way that she did, like the outcast, because she came in the show via Evelyn, quote unquote. You know what I'm saying? And so I felt like she, by default, got ducked in with Clayanna because Clayanna was sending her messages, making her think that the girls were ready to just move on, whether she was there or not, right? So I feel like Clayanna is a little bit at the center of all this, but I also believe that it is sometimes easier to make one person a scapegoat on these shows. And so I want to also make sure I'm taking a good look at whether or not that's happening as well, right? Just so we can get like a real full 360 view of what is really happening. So anyway, Vanessa feels like, Brittany and Clayanna think that Vanessa was being distant because she wasn't circulating around the room to basically, really greet them. And I'm like, but she was on the other side of the table. Like it just felt to me like little nitpicking type situations where there's this idea that everybody changes when they get around the collective. I feel like Vanessa is just basically hanging on. Like, she is trying like to I don't know if she's just trying to hang on. That's not really what I mean. What I mean by that is I'm sure she already had enough trauma from the drama that she put herself in with Evelyn that, she's just trying to maneuver correctly within the group. I think it has less to do with Brittany and Clayanna, maybe more to do with Clayanna, but definitely I don't think it has anything to do with Brittany. But that's just my thought. What do you guys think? Anyway, Vanessa feels, again, I mean, at this point, Vanessa's starting to feel like Clayanna is the problem. All right. And Vanessa reveals then that she was researching Jen's man, right? Because that's what we do as friends. We research the men that they bring around. And so not really researching him, she was researching the doggy scam, because she cares, she cares about Jen and wants to make sure that the girl's not being scammed, because the girl is, I mean, she does seem to get scammed quite a bit. So maybe Vanessa is right to be on the lookout for her. Somebody need to be. Anyway, in this investigation, she has found out things about Christian, i.e., that he has another child that he failed to disclose to them in the group. So Clay and but Vanessa does not want to approach Jen alone about this because of what happened with Evelyn. So she wants to bring Jackie with her. And Brittany and Clayanna like, girl, why are you being so dilly? Like, why you acting all like scared and stuff like that with these ladies or whatever? And in my mind, I mean, I think that Vanessa having just gone up against the powerhouse that was Evelyn and Brooke, I felt like I could see why she would want to have Jackie around. Well, first of all, I can't see myself doing that level of research on somebody that I'm not even friends with. But I mean, if you're going to have that conversation, you probably don't want to have it alone. Okay. So anyway, you know, Vanessa and Clayanna end up getting into it over this pecking order that Vanessa is seemingly like just determined that people should be following. I do understand the idea that you respect marriages, okay? And in the NBA world, I do understand this idea that, oh, you're a wife because of what it means for the basketball wives platform, right? So, in not being a woman, I don't necessarily know that I fully understand the sort of maybe like need to differentiate being a wife from someone who is just or who may be a baby mama. um I understand where Vanessa's coming from because she's living in that world, but I also understand Clayana and Brittany's perspective of like, well, our reality is that we are still connected to this world because we have children by men who are in this world. And for a period of time, they too were included in that world by way of their relationships. So I do get it, but I mean, it doesn't mean as much to me because I'm not living in it, right? I think that's the key thing for me, right? And I think probably for a lot of us. So when you hear this thing about this pecking order, it really is like for the layperson, we're like, what you want us to do about that? Like, you if the pecking order is between you and a wife and a side chick, I understand you wanting to have a higher level of importance. But really and truthfully, I mean, it's really you got to deal with that with your man. I mean, that's in my opinion, but that's just me. So anyway, the day of the trip, Ev notices that Brittany is being really distant, and Evelyn decides to check in with her. So Brittany is starting to realize that perhaps, maybe, I don't know, she might have had a little bit too much to drink, and she may have, in fact, body shamed Brooke first. Okay. And so, Evelyn, this body shaming idea has grown so many legs, it is practically a centipede. So, Evelyn suggests, hey, girl, why don't you just have a conversation with Brooke and settle it, right? Meanwhile, Jaceel and Brooke, while they're on the bus, okay, because they ride separate buses, Jaceel, Brooke, and Jackie begin to realize that Clayanna is a little bit of a pot stirrer or problem causer, okay? Everybody gets to the hotel minus Clayanna, who just landed, and they toast to a great trip. So Brittany, once Clayanna does arrive, wants to talk to Jaceel and Clayanna to put some pieces together about the day she got into it with Brooke. And she reveals that she's going to take accountability. She chose to pick Brooke apart because it's what she has been doing to herself since she had her baby. Now I'm like, oh, now, okay, so this to me, we are getting to know Brittany better. And I feel like what I like that I'm seeing as I'm watching this episode is I'm liking seeing the growth that we're witnessing Brittany experience as a result of her being in this mix with the ladies. I enjoy it because I feel like we're watching someone in real time try to figure out how to navigate being on this show and being in this world when my general sense is that she really just wants to live and be free. But how does she do so while figuring out what's going on with her, co-parenting, also figuring out how she fits in with this group. I like seeing it. And I feel like these vulnerable moments from her are super valuable to what the show is trying to do, or what I would like for it to try to do. Anyway, I think I should say that. And so anyway, as she is saying this, she tells them she has to make it right. Brittany also reveals that she's been feeling salty over Jaceel not being as close to her as she was seemingly to the other girls. And again, I think this is where we go back to Clayanna maybe pushing some buttons, and that idea that Clayanna was texting Brittany that they were kind of like maybe against Brittany when Brittany wasn't there yet at the cooking event. So I feel like at that point, Giselle, what I love is like, well, listen, baby, you got to tell me when you feel in a certain type of way. I need to know. I want you to call me out. I'm that type of friend where I want you to keep it real with me. And Brittany's like, okay, I can receive that, but I can also receive what Brittany was saying, where she was like, I also need to check in with myself to see how I feel first, because I'm that way too, right? I mean, not everybody has a reaction and then talks about it right then and there. That's just not the reality of how people work. So I got that. So Jaceel then wants to know if things are cleared up like for Clayanna, because I feel like Clayanna is kind of lurking in the background, like, I don't like all this. I don't like all this. I think she thinks Jaceel is fake, basically. So Clayanna then gets into some details about what she heard regarding the body shaming and what Jaceel said she heard or did not say. I was really kind of unclear about this, and I did feel like at that point Clayanna was nitpicking, because I think Jaceel just wanted it to be over. And Jaceel basically tells her, like, you always nitpicking over things, and things then go all the way to the left, Brittany has to essentially separate Clayanna, because and Brittany doesn't honestly even understand why Clayanna is more upset than her. But again, this is where it comes that it feels like, because Clayanna is so upset and Brittany is not anymore, it almost feels like Clayanna wants Brittany to be as upset as her. And I'm not necessarily sure why. And I think that there is some level of insecurity there that may, I think, that has Clayanna fighting for some level of respect that maybe she doesn't need to fight for. And I think that if she calmed down from that just a bit, that she would probably have fared better on this show. However, if she's been watching this show for years, as most of us have, then she probably thought that she needed to come in like a wrecking ball in order to get that level of respect, not necessarily understanding that this ain't quite the same show she has watched from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like maybe you don't need to do all that just yet. You know what I'm saying? I feel like definitely have that fire in you, but save it for when it's really truly necessary and it's truly going to make a moment. Because if every moment is that, then you're going to flame out real fast. You know what I'm saying? It's like constantly being on fire and constantly exploding. Girl, you can't keep doing that, because otherwise you're going to explode yourself right off the cast. Okay. And I'm assuming mama wants a check. So I don't know. Like, I've seen many cast members on the show burn out the same way. Okay. So essentially, during this little tiff, okay, it gets heated. What I love is that Giselle never really, I mean, Giselle got loud, but she didn't come up out her seat, really, to be honest with you. And Clayanna was escorted away yet again. Okay. So anyway, Brooke reveals to Evelyn that Vanessa told all the girls about breaking her engagement, so they annoyed with her again. The next day, Jennifer arrives, and Evelyn and her have some moments together. Then Jackie meets with VANESSA at the bar. And Vanessa's like, well, what you going to do about this Jennifer situation? Jackie like, what you going to do about it? Because it's you that's doing the research, girl. Don't be putting me up in this mess. Anyway, Vanessa feels like she does need to pull Jennifer to the side, and Jackie secretly does not think that she should do this during this trip, because Jennifer is already on edge because of the Clayanna situation, if she does come. Speaking of, Vanessa tells Jackie that Clayanna came at her sideways about her and Jackie not being being different around the group, right? So now Jackie is annoyed because she feels like Clayanna is not getting along with anybody, and she would not have invited her if she felt like she knew what Clayanna was saying. So now Vanessa is ready to rumble with Clayanna. And so this is honestly like a little foreboding, like foreshadowing moment that we have here. So Brooke then gets a visit from Brittany, and Brittany just dives right in. This is probably my favorite scene of the episode. And basically, she says she takes all full accountability. I mean, it was no if I made you feel, it was simply I was wrong, out of pocket, sloppy drunk, and there's no defending this behavior. Brooke is really receptive. I felt like they had such a good moment. I really enjoyed the fact that both of them were able to open up about, what has been going on in both of their lives that may have seemed extra big for them that day, and what was triggering for Brittany that made her come into the day feeling kind of crazy. And I feel like I'm watching a real person in Brittany in this moment. And I just love the moment that they had. And it really reaffirms something for me that I feel like Brooke adds a lot of heart to this show. It's unfortunate what she's gone through, but I think that what I don't know that she knows this, but what she's going through is so relatable for a lot of us. Um, we've all lost someone. And I think that on any level as a human, we can all recognize that how difficult it is. You know what I'm saying? And it's something that just doesn't leave. And then even for Brittany, what she's going through, it's real. And she's talked about it just about every episode. And so you can see that this is something that is really, really like in her spirit, just like tearing away at her. So I just love this moment right here. If I'm watching the show, I, I love that they let the moment breathe. You know what I'm saying? Because basketball wives be real quick to like boom, 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 boom. And I would say that about this episode of Basketball Wives Orlando too. There were so many moments in this particular episode, and I'm not really gonna go all the way into it, but that I did appreciate that I felt for the characters. And I feel like if they continue with that level of storytelling where you have story plus drama and real progression, then I feel like I can see a path forward for basketball wives in general, right? So anyway, as Jackie prepares for the pool party, Jacille lets her know that she got into it with Clayanna. Brooke, Vanessa, and Evelyn all arrive, and Jennifer surprises the girls. Brooke lets them know that Brittany has taken full accountability and she's invited tonight. And, Brooke also talks about struggling with birthdays and holidays, ever since, losing her daughter, and how it's really nice. And Brittany arrives, and is hopeful that everybody can move forward. And honestly, everybody seems like they're having a good time. Then comes Clayanna. When Clayanna arrives, this is no disrespect to her, but it was like Lurch arriving on the scene with a cloud of dark energy. Okay. And I just got to call her a thing a thing. And I understand it because she is probably feeling like she's on the outs with everybody, especially now that Brittany is opening up to the group. And I felt like that was probably the what the group might have needed from Brittany, is just for her to just be. You know what I mean? No expectation, come as you are. Like, I mean, there's gonna be drama, but you know, by opening up, it bridges the gaps, for connection. And I feel like that's the space where Clayana has not allowed herself to get to with the rest of these ladies, because she is so on defense. You know what I'm saying? So on the defense about being the new person, so on the defense about this level of what is the pecking order, so on defense about so much. And I feel like in her life, maybe I feel like she's a fighter, right? She's just fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, and I don't think she knows when to stop fighting. So anyway, and for me also too, I try to look at the human aspect of what a person might bring to the table that might make them like how they are. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I try to give a little bit of grace in these situations too, because I don't know enough about her to really get a full picture of why she's coming across the way she's coming across. But I know just it ain't. I don't think it's given what she think is given, right? Again, these are my thoughts, just my thoughts as a viewer, right? And I want to know what you guys think too, because in my mind, I'm like, I mean, I don't mind that she's a fighter per se, but I just don't feel like we have been given the opportunity to really understand what she's fighting for. Okay. Especially when we talk about what's coming up next. So anyway, she come in like Lurch. Brooke is like, I mean, you can speak to me. It's my party. You just come in and sit on down or whatever. At that point, I knew Brooke had probably was not going to be feeling Clayanna's energy and was going to get Rowdy Piper. Okay. Um, but they do hug and it's time for gifts. But Jackie at that point needs to pull Clayanna to the side because I feel like Jackie's like, you know what? We need to have a little ponderosa. And I did feel like Jackie was trying to break the ice with her and trying to figure out where the level of defensiveness is coming from with Clayanna. But Clayanna is on this I don't need no validation tip. And I think that's still coming from that argument that she had with Jen. And I'm thinking, why are you taking this with you to everybody? You know what I'm saying? Clayanna ain't about the fake mess. And I feel like also too, like if you can't think, I mean, if you think everybody fake and you see and something she said made me feel like she been watching this show for a long period of time. And so she thought to herself coming in, I ain't with this fakery. I ain't letting nobody punk me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, I think you can always keep that nobody's gonna punk me energy, but wait till they have tried to punk you first. You know what I'm saying? At least for me. Okay. Now, when Jen was like, "Who are you? We don't know where you from," I would have just been like, "Yo, I mean, I was invited here by Shawnee. Why are you here?" And you know what I'm saying? Like, it would have been easy for me to disable that argument. But I also feel like that's the place where I come from, right? So I don't need to I don't need to get crazy with people. I don't need to get loud. I don't need to raise my voice. I don't need to do any of that to effectively, and I don't need, and I don't, my effort is never to try to get nobody together because I exist in a space where I don't think about those things, right? So you don't know who I am, and that is fine because I don't care. I mean, it is what it is at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not because I'm feel solid in who I am as a person, I carry that with me wherever I go. So I don't need you to know who I am. If you don't know who I am, that's your problem. Either you're gonna get to know me or you're not. And I'm fine with it either way. 9 times out of 10, I'm even more fine with not getting to know you because I feel like I got enough friends. You know what I mean? Like that's how I operate and I maneuver. So at me trying to understand Clayanna's position, I'm just kind of like, girl, like you, even in your attempts to not be trying, you're trying. And I don't think she realizes it. Or at least that's how it's coming across. Even as Jackie is trying to talk, I felt like Jackie was legit trying to have a conversation with her. And then they get into this pecking order or this hierarchy. And what I took from Jackie is just like, hey, as wives, we just want a certain level of respect. And we've been on this platform for a while. And I feel like Clayanna is like, all that stuff is BS to me. And probably from her own experience of being, a mother to a child who is who is with somebody who was in the NBA. It's kind of like I've gone through all of the rigmarole. I get it, and it wasn't for me. It didn't work out, but I've been here. I've been around this energy, so I feel like she's fighting to get that level of recognition, maybe. VANESSA then comes over, and then they start going at it, and then the rest of the group meanders over. Brooke realizes that now Clayanna is trying to air VANESSA out because Clayanna herself is under the bus. And with trying to air VANESSA out, what I guess Clayanna is trying to say is that Vanessa was talking smack about Brooke. That's what she's trying to get at. And even as she is saying to Brooke, because Vanessa is threatening to barbecue old girl's lips. Okay. And I didn't know where that one came from, but I was like, no, that's a new one. That's a new one, Miss Vanessa. Okay. Thank you for that. Well, thank you for that visual. So, I'm watching this, trying to understand what's going on. And at that point, Clayanna is telling Brooke, I got the receipts. I got the receipts. I got the receipts. Oh, girl, my phone is cracked. Pay no attention to that because something's going on and I got to get it. My phone is not in order. The screen is cracked. Don't pay attention to. See, let me tell y'all something. If you're gonna show up onto a scene and you're gonna claim that you have receipts, I need for your phone to be clear, not broken. I need for you to have a printout, or I need for it to be very clear about what it is that you're showing. And what she was showing Brooke were not receipts that Vanessa was talking about Brooke. They were essentially receipts that she felt like Vanessa was trying to be her friend, but is ultimately really fake, which is very difficult to prove because ultimately, who really cares that she was trying to be friendly with you? It doesn't show what you're saying that the receipts are showing. Oh, then she's like, oh, that was on the phone, girl. That was on the phone. And I'm like, basically, what she said that Miss Vanessa said about her was that Brooke looked like a blow up doll. And Brooke, does a little twirl. It's like, and I do look like a blow up doll. But again, I already knew Brooke came into this and was like, we about to get you up out of here because you a troublemaker. Okay. And I knew, and you could see it, you could feel, you could hear it in Brooke's energy. You could see it in her sachet. You could see it in her struts. You could tell she was going to get this girl together. It didn't matter what was going on. Okay. I felt like she recognized, girl, you are the problem and it is time for you to be disabled. Okay. And so at that point, I thought, oh, Clayanna found the receipts, but those weren't the receipts either. Okay. I don't know what happened next because it seemed like a cluster F. All I know is that Brooke is throwing her margarita up in Clayanna's facial. Security has broken it up, and Miss Vanessa has thrown Clayanna's pocketbook into the pool. Okay, that is where we are. Next week, it looks like we're going to get Jennifer and Vanessa facing off. And so we will see where that goes. My guess is that we don't see too much more of Clayanna as we move forward. But again, that is anybody's guess. She is the official wild card of the season. So let me know. She is kind of reminding me of, in a very different way, how the group responded to the sisters, the Dorsey sisters. But the problem is, I actually found that the Dorsey sisters, to me, were a tad bit more likable than what Clayanna is really allowing us to see of her. But again, that's just my thoughts. I could be totally wrong. There could be some other thing going on behind the scenes with Miss Clayanna, but that is my read on the episode. Let me know what you guys thought. I can't wait to hear and see what you guys think if you saw the episode. And then let me know also, too, what you thought of Basketball Wives Orlando. I actually enjoyed last night's episode. For some reason, I think I might have almost enjoyed it more. And that's interesting. I think that Morgan is a standout on that show. She's also the firecracker on that show. I think that Danny makes an impact. Mulan makes an impact. I think that Ashley gets a lot of hate. I don't necessarily understand why, but she's not also the most likable on the show either. So that doesn't help her cause. And interestingly enough, so far to me, Megan kind of gets lost in the show, which I find interesting because she is the most familiar to me. But when you have these other personalities with these other interesting stories and these interconnections, I feel like she kind of fades into the background a bit because she's still new to the group. So anyway, that's my assessment on Basketball Wives Orlando. I told you I was going to keep watching, and I am, and I'm actually enjoying it at this point. So let me know what you think about that as well, and I will catch you all in the next video.